Hello everyone. I made this video to explain how it's possible to believe in God through logical arguments and to counter the position of the atheists that say they don't believe in God because there's no evidence. So the first question is, does it really have to be empirical? I say no. Ask yourself the question, did you have a great-great-grandfather that lived back in the 2nd century? Yes. Do you have any empirical evidence to support that? No. You know that through reason. So, we can know things through reason. But why? Why isn't there any empirical evidence for the existence of God? Well, one, it would contradict his nature because any physical properties would limit something that is infinite. And two, it would invalidate free choice for human beings. Life would be meaningless if we had no option whether or not we wanted to believe in God's existence or whether or not we want to follow his command. If God was simply there for everyone to physically experience, well, then no one would disobey him. Now, the first argument comes from the law of causality. Through it we know that every creation has a creator, every effect a cause. The cause must be superior to the effect because it can exist without the effect, but the effect cannot come into existence without a cause. So if we were to formulate this, it would be cause plus action equals effect. In terms of the universe, it would be X plus Big Bang equals the universe. Now that X is the creator, because the universe is the effect. The action is the Big Bang. So, the universe could not have created itself because it would need to pre-exist to do so. Therefore, the universe must have had a cause. Now, the second argument comes from the fact that something infinite must exist. We all believe in something infinite. Atheists believe matter is infinite. Now, the universe cannot be infinite because you cannot have an infinite number of past events. Take this as an example. If you're in a fast food restaurant and you were waiting in line to order food, but there are 10 people between you and ordering your food, you will get there after 10 people. But if there is an infinite number of people, you'll never get there. So as long as the universe operates on time, you cannot have an infinite number of events. So only something not bound by laws can be infinite, and the only thing not bound by laws is God. So only the cause of the universe can qualify as infinite because by definition it must exist independently of the limitations of the universe, space, time, energy, and matter. Now the third argument is the fact that we don't need to explain anything beyond the immediate cause or we end up with an infinite regress. Let's take technology as an example. If you wanted to find out how a computer was made, someone could explain to you that certain technologies created the computer. Now, it is irrelevant to how the computer was made for you to find out how the technologies that made the computer were made themselves, and how the technologies that made those technologies were made themselves. Because the cause of something can be accepted without a need for an explanation of its own cause. And let's not forget that God's existence does not depend on us being able to explain what God is or where he came from. So, we don't need an answer to the question of who created God. But if the question is asked, then the answer is nothing. Because if by definition the cause of the universe is infinite, then what is superior to infinity? Infinity plus 1 is a mathematical contradiction. Now the fourth argument concerns morality. Concepts such as good and evil prove that we have moral objectivity. Just like you can't tell that a line is crooked unless you know what a straight line looks like. Now this moral objectivity, it's a programming. It's an advanced form of human consciousness that needs its own programmer. The ability to sense what is right and wrong, even though you and I may have completely reversed judgments, proves that there is a higher consciousness that requires us to do something with this advanced form of consciousness. So we all have this innate capability programmed within us that allows us to judge and label certain things as evil. Such an advanced form of consciousness can only come from a higher form of consciousness that requires us to do something with this capability, such as to be more civil than animals. Now the fifth argument is in regard to the order, laws, and boundaries found in the universe. The question is, if there are laws, what set them? The universe is governed by laws such as inertia and equilibrium. We can't transcend boundaries that are put in place, otherwise life would not last long, such as conservation of matter and energy and the fact that we cannot go below 0 Kelvin. I'd also like to point out that anomalies of perceived chaos are necessary for the overall structure of order within the universe, meaning sometimes certain things need to fail so that they can be rebuilt stronger. So, order, laws, and boundaries suggest a purposeful design, just like they would in a country. The universe does operate on laws and boundaries in an orderly fashion, therefore it was purposely designed. Now the sixth argument is about design, tuning, and genes. First, the Big Bang's low entropy. The probability of the Big Bang's low entropy conditions existing by chance is calculated by Stephen Hawking to be about 1 out of 10 to the power of 23. And for the Big Bang, there were about 50 constants present, such as the weak force or gravity. Their powers and ratios must have been fine-tuned to at least 1 part in 10 to the power of 53. Any more and the universe would have expanded too fast for stars and planets to form. Any less and the universe would have collapsed on itself. Now the probability of 10 to the power of 53 is 1 part in a million billion 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 billion. Now in regards to the conditions necessary for life to exist, the range of life permitting values is inconceivably small in relation to the assumable values that the universe can fall within. The universe does not at all have to exist the way it does, so it does not need these values to exist. Therefore, it could not have come about by natural laws. The probability of life permitting values coming by chance is incomprehensibly smaller than the Big Bang having been caused by chance. Now on to the genetic code. The average gene contains more than 500 bits of functional information. The simplest life form needs at least 150 genes. That's 75,000 bits of functional information. For this to occur by chance, the probability would be 1 in 10 to the power of 23,000. Now a series of steps from the Big Bang to the genetic code being produced by chance is so improbable that the probability is negligible. So, design, fine-tuning, and genetic information can only have come about by either natural law, chance, or an intelligent designer. Natural law does not necessitate these things. Chance can never produce such complexity. Therefore, the only reasonable option is an intelligent designer. Now I'll continue my seventh argument in the next video, but first allow me to preview some of my upcoming projects on this video of how DNA makes protein. Hopefully as you watch this you might question whether such a complex process that takes place billions of times in your body every day could have come about by chance.